Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video is going to take us to around the 22nd of October. We'll actually be able to extend out a little bit beyond that with the extended GFS. I'll bring you up to date with what's happening in terms of tropical storm activity as well, and we'll begin by having a look at all of the latest developments for this weekend, because there's going to be a lot of weather going on for the rest of today and for this weekend as well. But just beginning with our latest donor for Gas Office, I'm going to give a shout out and a big thank you to our latest donor. So Amanda Hill has become the latest PayPal donor for Gas Office. A big thank you to Amanda for becoming a donor for Gas Office and donating a little bit of money. If you would like to become a donor for Gas Office, then all you need to do is come to gasoffice.me PayPal page, and this is it. Most people got a PayPal account these days, so just sign in to one of your PayPal accounts, and you can donate whatever amount of money you would like to Gas Office. The other way of doing it is through Patreon, and this is kind of like a monthly donation, so you can become a patron for Gas Office via the Gas Office Patreon page. We link to both the PayPal and Patreon pages at Gas Office, and also in the description at YouTube. So you just sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge an ongoing amount of money on a monthly basis, and of course you can cancel it any time, but the idea with this is that it's ongoing, whereas PayPal is kind of like a one-off donation, and by doing that you become a patron for Gas Office. So a big thank you to all of the donors and all of the patrons for Gas Office. You are helping us to pay for our content, you're helping us pay for the website, keep all the content completely free of charge. We won't go behind paywalls or anything like that. We're primarily ads funded and will be remaining so. It's just an extra revenue stream because ad yields and the amount of money revenue you can get from ads lowering year by year for various reasons. So a big thank you to all of the patrons, and a big thank you to all of the donors for Gas Office. Big thank you to Amanda Hill for becoming the latest donor for Gas Office. And yeah, it's something really special that you're doing for Gas Office. So big thank you to all of you for doing that. We're going to start off by having a look at the situation in the tropical Atlantic. So we've still got our three areas of interest. We've got Nadine down here. Tropical storm Nadine is down in the southern part of the tropical Atlantic, giving sustained winds of 50 miles an hour. The track for Nadine, I think we're nearly finished with this storm. Now, it only goes up to Saturday on this chart from the National Hurricane Center. So the position with the National Hurricane Center for Nadine is just there. By tomorrow, it's forecast to be there as a tropical depression, and then it disappears. There's no forecast beyond that. So I think Nadine should almost be done with. We've got Hurricane Leslie up here, further north in the Atlantic Ocean. Category 1 hurricane. This storm has been meandering around for a couple of weeks now. The current position of Leslie is just there. Category 1 Hurricane Leslie will be heading towards the North African coast and then turning back on itself as a post-tropical depression. By Monday, that is the position of Leslie just there. Again, it disappears off the map by then, so I think that might be the end of this storm, although as it's been meandering around for a very, very long time. It must be getting close to a record for such a long-lasting system. So we'll wait and see. I think that could be the end of it by the time we get through to the middle of next week. Actually, that goes to Wednesday, so that probably is as far out as it will go, actually, the forecast. So yeah, so that's the position on Monday, that's the position on Tuesday, very close to the Canary Islands. This is the position on Wednesday. So it won't go out beyond that. So up to Wednesday next week, this system is still meandering around. It will be post-tropical storm Leslie by that point. It's been post-tropical before and then it's gone back up to tropical and hurricane status. So actually up to Wednesday this system is still alive and meandering around. The forecast, I say, won't go beyond that. So it's possible we've got more days to go with this very, very long-lasting tropical system. And then we've got Michael up here now off the eastern seaboard of America. So Michael started off around there. Let's get rid of that. Michael started off around there and moved northwards in that sort of an arc out into the Atlantic. And eventually Michael is going to be doing something a little bit like that, getting picked up by the jet stream. Now Michael is a post-tropical cyclone and giving sustained winds of 65 miles an hour. The forecast is that this will continue to be subtropical as it moves into our quadrant of the Atlantic Ocean over the weekend. So this is the current position of post-tropical cyclone Michael just there. This post-tropical storm will, as they get caught up in the jet stream, move across the Atlantic and will finish up somewhere around here on Monday as an area of low pressure. Otherwise, there's not much else happening in the tropical Atlantic at the moment, so things are going a bit quieter for the time being. We should wait and see whether any more storms or disturbances get going. Talking of disturbances, back closer to home, very unsettled day. We've got Storm Callum, of course, out to the northwest of Scotland. It's quite a long way from us, but it is producing strong winds and, more notably, perhaps, heavy outbreaks of rain. So this is the latest radar picture from the Weather Outlook. You can see it's a very, very wet sea now across many southern parts of Scotland, also going down into Northern Ireland. Some of that rain does stretch down into Northern England and parts of Wales as well, but it's a little bit more sort of sporadic through there. It's also is quite windy. You can see the wind arrows, or from the wind arrows, that we've got pretty strong winds blowing across the country. Certainly gusts up to 60 miles an hour out in the northwest. However, it's also quite a warm air mass that we're bringing up with this. It's cold up in the north, temperatures there under that persistent rain for some parts of Scotland, for example, only 13 degrees. As we get down to the southeast, relatively warm, temperatures in that southeast corner up to around 22, 23 degrees, which is still way above average for October. Not as warm, though, as it was yesterday. These are the facts charts. See, they're the human interpretations of models by forecasters at the UK Met Office. So this is kind of like the centre of Callum up here. This is at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Centre of Callum will be up there to the east of Iceland. But you see the weather fronts that are trailing back with this system. And those weather fronts do go a long way south. They are kind of stuck over the UK. So if we get rid of that and move downwards, we can see that we have got this weather front strung out through the country. Little areas of low pressure developing along this front, producing more enhanced spells of rain at times. And you can see just how far southwards this front goes. It does actually go right way down in towards the tropical Atlantic. And I think it is almost tying back into Hurricane Leslie, actually. The front, not the low pressure, but the front does tie back into Hurricane Leslie, which is way down to the south of us. Off the coast of North Africa, as we know. So that's the situation at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. This is where we are by midday tomorrow. We're developing an area of low pressure along that front. That's this area of low pressure just here. Ahead of it, though, we are actually bringing up some pretty warm air from the south. So tomorrow will be a very warm day in the southeast. We could well be lifting temperatures into the mid-20s Celsius. But this front will be producing some really wet weather indeed. Things sort of simplify themselves overnight, Saturday into Sunday, as we push this cold front, and an included front, across the country. That will bring heavy rain even into the south and southeast. That rain might get a bit stuck across England and Wales, actually, on Sunday. We see from the facts charts that the UK Met are expecting this occluded front to be clearing the East Anglian coast by midday on Sunday, but the GFS isn't as sure about that. In fact, I can show you the precipitation forecast from the GFS for the next few days. So today's wet weather, as we know, it's primarily in the north and west, very wet up there. Look how far back into the Atlantic this band of rain stretches, very bright, vibrant purple colours. And of course, that is Hurricane Leslie. Just there, that circle of precipitation we see just there. So this front does in fact tie in with Hurricane Leslie, although we won't be seeing Leslie ourselves. We have got the sort of front which marks the boundary between cooler northern Atlantic air and tropical air. We have got that front draped out across the UK. And as we go through to tonight, we're going to find that rain pepping up, so it becomes very heavy, maybe torrential across parts of northern England down to Wales into southwestern England too. Southwest Scotland, Northern Ireland on the edge of that torrential rain. Central northern Scotland are on the cold side of this front, so there it will be a bit drier, but also be colder. That leaves much of the Midlands, southeast England, mainly dry tonight. But it'll be a very, very warm night indeed. We might have a record-breakingly warm night, actually, down in the southeast tonight. I'll show you that in a moment. Through to tomorrow, again, that front is stuck through this central swathe of the country. So it's kind of like through northern England, down into North Wales, southwestern parts of England as well. In the southeast, we remain dry, and again, it will be very warm down there, to say the least. And then as we go through into midnight on Sunday, we start to move that across the country. So we bring the wet weather down across the Midlands, southern, southeastern parts of England. Some heavy outbreaks of rain moving through there. And then that gets a bit stuck through the course of Sunday. So you can see that rain is on through much of the day during Sunday across the Midlands, central, southern, southeastern parts of England. So after a very warm day tomorrow, Sunday will be a much, much cooler, even colder day with outbreaks of persistent and heavy rain. It's not really until overnight, Sunday into Monday, but we finally clear that rain away from the southeast. And even then, it's just about hanging on to that coast of East Anglia and southeastern England. However, it will be warm, so these are the temperatures that we've got. Today we're at around 21 degrees in the southeast, not towards that in the north and west, because we have got those outbreaks of heavy and persistent rain and also the strong winds. These are our minimum temperatures tonight. Look at that, in the southeast might not be any lower than 18 or 19 degrees. That is very, very close to an all-time warmest October night on record, so it is going to be incredibly warm down in the southeast of the country tonight, and that will lead to a really warm day tomorrow somewhere across eastern England. Let's maybe say around Norwich or King's Lynn, something like that. Could be up to around 25 degrees tomorrow, about 77 in Fahrenheit. That is really hot for the middle of October. But in the north and west, it's much, much cooler, you'll notice. Temperatures there just barely into the low teens across Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then as that front moves across the country, as the fronts move across the country overnight, Saturday into Sunday, we lower the temperatures a lot. So these are the maximum temperatures for Sunday across many parts of England and Wales. We've dropped the temperature by at least 10 degrees. Some places probably hinting at dropping the temperature by around 12, maybe 13 degrees, something like that, in a 24-hour period, and we are barely getting into the teens Celsius during the course of Sunday with those outbreaks of rain across England and Wales. So a remarkable thing going on with the temperature, to say the least, over the next few days. Going to go from exceptional, maybe record-breaking warmth to really cool temperatures, even cold temperatures by Sunday. Just going to show you how things can change very rapidly at this time of year when you're in the transitional season of autumn. The same is true in spring, of course. Right, these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. So this is where we are right now in terms of the upper air temperature. Looking at Exeter, by the way, down in the looking at Exeter, down the southwest part of the country, home of the UK Met Office. So we're significantly warmer than average at the moment. The temperatures, we've already explained, will be dropping over this weekend, becoming really quite chilly by the time we get through to Sunday. Then we've got signs of a bit of a zonal sine wave appearing. So we've got these warmer and cooler interludes appearing within the ensemble. So that tells us we're going into westerly flow. We bring warm sectors and cooler sectors through in what will be a relatively potentially a relatively changeable period. This final week of October possibly showing signs of going a little bit more definitively colder, but of course that is in the very extended range of the Unsettled, and so it's unreliable. Lots of rainfall coming up today and through the weekend down in Exeter. Through the course of next week there are precipitation spikes appearing. It's not a desperately wet period, but there will be bands of rain coming through, but there will also be drier slots in between those bands of rain. Maybe hints of, again, another very unsettled spell setting up towards the very end of October. Temperature anomalies are looking like that, so just close to average now for Scotland and Ireland. No real deviation either way. England and Wales still coming out a little bit warmer than average. You'd expect that because it is going to be exceptionally warm over the next 24 to 36 hours. But then things will be cooling down back to normal. I expect these to carry on trending cooler, if anything, in the days ahead. Precipitation anomalies. Many northern western parts of the country coming out with average or above average precipitation. East Anglia and southeast of England still just about holding on to dry and average precipitation. This is how the midnight run of the GFS was looking then. So this is not the latest. Latest is the 6 o'clock. I'll show you that in a second. Midnight run of the GFS looks like that, starting early next week. Building a little bit of a ridge up on Tuesday, but then flattening it off as a weather system. An area of low pressure comes in on Wednesday, bringing rain across the country. Then high pressure builds back in again through the latter part of next week down in the south. Reasonable amount of dry weather, wind and rain up in the north. That high pressure as we head up towards day 10 does actually intensify a little bit. It's not in a position to produce anything particularly warm, but it is turning things drier over the week, drier again over weekend of the 20th, 21st of October. We're up to day 10 with high pressure just centred out to the west of the country. In the extended range, the midnight run of the GFS pulled down this cold northerly wind as we went through into the closing days of October. That's as far as we can go, 28th of October, and we're in a real northerly bear. That's a proper northerly blast coming down across the country. It would be producing widespread frost if it happened, and it would also be producing wintry showers up in the north. There's the upper air temperatures. They're looking pretty cold across most parts of the country. This is 6 o'clock run of the GFS. So early next week have this little bit of a ridge through Tuesday, but that's moved out of the way by the time we get through to Wednesday. We're bringing a weather front down across the country, so that brings more cloud and rain in from the north and the west. After that, we have a go at building a little bit of a ridge, but it all looks rather flabby through the second half next week for another area of low pressure, and a weather front heads in off the Atlantic as we run towards day 10. We get to day 10. Again, high pressures down to the southwest, low pressures are out to the northwest. This is a classic sort of westerly type situation. It's not particularly warm. Temperatures are close to average, maybe a little bit on the cool side, if anything. But in the south, it would be reasonably dry. It's more unsettled in the north. The marks have shifted a little bit more towards high pressure, I have to say, in this 5 to 10 day time frame compared to yesterday's model runs, but overall they do still look quite unsettled. In the more extended range of the GFS, again quite unsettled. High pressures out in the middle of the Atlantic. We're bringing a weather system down here from the northwest, trying to introduce that northerly wind. On this particular GFS run, the 6 o'clock run, that northerly wind doesn't actually come off. What happens is that we develop this really deep area of low pressure around Iceland. That's a proper storm. And so that stops us getting from that northerly wind. But of course, that's all extended range stuff. It's like 2 weeks away. So it's going to be chopping and changing anyway from run to run. The ECMWF is looking like this. So early next week, again, this little bump of high pressure from Monday into Tuesday before that gets flattened off and so another weather system comes in from the Atlantic, bringing rain into Wednesday. Then the second half of next week, again, we have a go at building a bit of pressure up from the south and from the southwest, but again, that's flattened off as we go through to the 20th of October, Saturday 20th, bring another area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. Up to day 10, all looks rather changeable, and what this is going to be doing, whichever model we're looking at, they're basically singing from the same hymn sheet as we get to day 10. We've got high pressure down to the southwest, we've got low pressure up to the northwest. So this will mean that all places will be at risk of bands of rain, showering bursts of rain at times, but the driest weather will be in the south and the west, and the wettest weather will be in the north and in the northwest. Finally, the GM looks like that through the early part of next week. Rather unsettled, really, as we're going through next week with the GM. Yes, we do build some pressure to the south, high pressure to the south a little bit, but in the north it does look quite unsettled. That's how we're looking at day 10, which is Monday, 22nd of October. High pressure is to our south, low pressure is up to the north. If we could run out a day or two further with this, I suspect what we'd see is that this area of low pressure just here will go in that sort of direction, and this high pressure just here will probably push up to there. And so the upshot, would, if we could go out another couple of days, would probably be to bring down a northerly wind there with the GM. Unfortunately, we can only go to day 10. So that's how it's looking. Rather changeable. Very warm to start off with down in the southeast. We will possibly be breaking records tonight in terms of the warmest night on record. It's going to be very close run thing, but we could do it. And then tomorrow, a very warm day again in the south and in the southeast. However, in the northwest, it is much more unsettled, as we've established, and that wet weather will be pushing eastwards. By the time we get through to Sunday, we will lower the temperature by somewhere around 10 to 15 degrees. It's going to be a big drop in temperature over this weekend. And then next week's looking rather changeable. The most unsettled conditions will be in the north and the west. The driest conditions will always be in the south. Those temperatures going back much closer to average. And then beyond that, do we get this northerly through the final week of October? I suspect that will be something we'll be focusing on a little bit in next week's videos. Right, so don't forget to check out JMA Friday, and that video is here on the homepage. You can find it just above the snow desk, which is now on the homepage at Gazworthy's. And tomorrow we've got weekend forecast. We will also have a week to 10-day look ahead. And then on Sunday, it's the 7th Winter 2018-19 updates. At that point, we're going to be halfway through the winter updates. Can you believe? We'll already be halfway through. So 7th winter update on Sunday, weekend forecast tomorrow. Come back for all the videos. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.